Hi, everybody. Welcome to Transformation Wednesday, because it is Wednesday. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yes.
Wednesday. Welcome to this space. Today we're hosting What in the Shift is Happening. What in the Shift is Happening. Here we're going to have a teacher SEL check-in, and we're going to talk about just what in the shift has been happening in our classroom. So is it back to business as usual? What shifts are we seeing? And how are we handling those? Because even though it may feel like we are moving forward, we're still dealing with a lot.
Mm.
We're still processing and recovering. Some of us are still in recovery mode from the past couple of years, and I mean, we're just still going through it. We just because we have the students face to face, we can't forget about the effects, emotional and physical too, for many people, but just all of the effects that the pandemic has left us. So I'm here with my friend Meredith White. Meredith, and
Yay.
I'm so glad that she's here today because we get to chat about everything that has been thrown at us, and what we have walked into as well, and also sometimes, Meredith, what we create for ourselves.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. For better or for worse. Like, did I set that up? You sure did. And now you have to deal with it.
Yes, and God forbid you actually tell your students you're gonna do something, and then you're like, oh man, that requires so much planning.
Why did I say I was going to do that? And when did I say it? Tomorrow? Absolutely not. No.
I know. I did that too. I had them. Oh my God, I have like done some things. We have stories, so we're gonna talk about stories. Hello, everybody that's logging in. Please say hello in the chat and let us know where you're logging in from. And are you on week? I'm on week 8. Meredith, what week are you in?
Yeah, same. Because they have.
Time.
Yeah, next week is like week 8, week 9, because they get a report card like the first couple days of October.
Yes, same for me. We're like, guys, we're halfway done with the semester already. Like, yes, most definitely. So, Meredith, tell us a little bit about what type of challenges and what types of things you have walked into this year that you were expecting, and also that you were not expecting.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, so I see it kind of like in 4 time frames. Like I look at, because we're also marrying all of lesson plans, right? Like, oh my God, this is such a nightmare. I feel like a first year teacher again, but also one that knows better, which is a problem. Like when I was a first year teacher, at least I didn't know any better, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know any shift, right? I didn't have my shift together, and that wasn't the expectation. So I was just like planning, and it was fun, and I didn't know anything and whatever. And now I'm looking at, like, if your preps haven't changed, like mine have not. So I'm looking at 2 years ago, and then I'm marrying those lesson plans. There's Patron. Patron's like, get me out of here.
I'm listening.
As predicted. So I'm marrying like 2 years ago, everything there with everything from last year, because last year's is like crisper, clearer, a little sexier, but also like very much pared down. And then 2 years ago is like a little clunkier, but more robust. So I'm literally looking at any given time, like when I'm planning, with like 2 slideshows, back and forth. And then it's like all the handouts, all the whatever, and deciding all over again, just like last year when we were like, okay, what do we do? What do we prioritize? So it's just exhausting. And I didn't expect, like last year to me, and I know I told you this, was emotionally exhausting. Like I needed like affirmations every day. Like, you're not a bad teacher. You're sitting down, but you're not like a sitting teacher. Like I really had to have I had to really reflect on what I had been critical of before, which was like a sitting teacher, and all those kind of things, because we were all forced in these positions, and they were positions that I would have previously judged. So last year was emotionally hard. This year is logistically hard. I cannot get ahead. I am like floating the whole time. And last year we had like asynchronous time. We had some time where students were working like independently, especially if they were digital, or most of them were digital like ours. So you could you could be a little more productive. I know that's probably like an unpopular thing to say, but I just feel really unproductive, and I don't like feeling like I'm planned like through today and then I got to figure out what we're doing tomorrow. I don't like that feeling, and that feeling makes me feel incompetent and like really uneasy and unprepared and like a fraud. You know, you look around, you're like, no, like I'm a good teacher. So it feels like last year a little bit in that way. So to me, this year is more logistically hard. Last year is more emotionally hard, but I'm also, some of those emotions from last year are coming up as I see students in the hall who I'm like, hey, we got through the really hard thing together, and they don't even say hi, or they say hi and it's just like, oh, hey. And you're like, who is that?
Yes.
And yet we got through the mask. I'm like, I don't know. Everyone looks like a Wild West bandit. I'm like, I don't know who you are. And you never turned your camera on. So why would I know what you look like? It's me, Johnny. I'm like, I don't, it doesn't ring a bell. And so that's just really like, that throws me a little bit, you know, and I know we've talked about like when you're used to connecting with kids and having a good relationship and being like, oh, that shift will feed your ego. And so then it really throws you when you don't have that. They're not like, oh, there goes Miss White. It's like, who? Ew, no, like this is not who. But that's a lot of what I'm feeling this year after last year, but also it's just residual and continuing. It's really, really strange.
Absolutely. Residual and continuing. Those are two key words. And you also talked about something that for me, you said that you became what you were critical of.
Yeah. 100%. I became like my word, like if you know how you walk past a classroom like on the way to make copies or whatever, and you're like, oh, those kids are all on their phone. You know, like there's like that little thing where you're like, she's sitting down. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe people are nicer than I am. But I remember there would be a little part of me that really took a lot of pride in like kids saying, oh, she never sits down. Oh, we're always doing something fun. That was really integral to my teacher identity. So last year I was like, like just crying every day, like stuck at my desk weeping, but also was super productive. So I didn't know how to reconcile those two.
Yes. And for me, it's a little bit different. I have been critical of that too, though. We're both like Enneagram 3. So
absolutely.
So yes, I've been critical of that in the past as well. But for me, what I had been critical of is, you know, sometimes we say things and I feel like, okay, you know, I would tell myself, and critical of myself, what other people do, well, you know, that's I don't like, but critical of myself, I would be like, okay, suck it up, Berta, keep moving. You're about to have a breakdown. I did not even know what type of breakdown I was having, and I was like, no, you've been through worse before. Keep moving. You can't stall.
Right.
Keep it going. Make it happen. And then we hear all of these messages, for better or for worse, out there. And you know, I'm guilty of saying those messages sometimes, and I'm not referring to toxic positivity here by any means, but I am saying like sometimes we genuinely said, we got this, like, because I have to remind myself of it. But at the same time, no, it's okay to say, I don't have this. I am sorry, but I dropped the ball. You have to be okay with dropping the ball. And for me, that was a tough pill to swallow because I dropped so many balls. Presentations to conferences got turned in late. So just all kinds of things because it was a lot. It was a lot. I was teaching AP. I was teaching level 3. I was doing all of these things that I enjoy doing genuinely. But at the same time, I would be like, okay, suck it up, Berta. Keep moving. Just the schedule was heavy. And I had to be okay with that. And I said, no, other people can do it. Why can't I do it? And then I would hold myself to other people's standards.
Other people's standards and other people's circumstances.
And yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where you go like, well, they can do it. Why can't I? Well, gosh, I wish I could. Pause. Like to me, everyone's life and teaching situation is a fingerprint. It's DNA. It's DNA.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Literally none of us teach with the same people, teach the same context, have the same experience. It's just, you don't even have those things in common. It's like house culture. Your like neighbors aren't even the same, you know, as your own. Like everybody, it's their own situation. So I do that same thing where like what do they say? I shift all over myself. I shift my pants. Because we're going to make all the shift puns tonight. So just so you know, power que sepas, we're going to do that. Yeah, but I mean, I shift all over myself because I'm like, I'm supposed to be, that person can do it. Knock it off. Like, knock it off, because that person doesn't care they might be rooting for you too, but like I'm comparing myself and like immediately feeling a sense of self-worth or not based on how I've decided my uninformed opinion says that their reality is. I don't know anything about their situation. Yes, I'm here for we're talking shift, baby. We're talking shift.
Yes, yes. And it's okay if you don't have your shift together at the moment, because
Nope.
it's just so much happening. And I know that for me, I'm actually pretty fortunate. I know, for just based talking with other friends from other schools in my district, and then also talking to friends, from all over. And I know I actually have it pretty good right now. And I'm not saying that to like rub it in or anything, but I'm just very mindful and grateful of that. For example, today I only had 2 students quarantine. Actually, for the last week, I only had 2 students quarantine because I don't know. At the beginning of the year, it seemed like half of my class was gone for like weeks, and I still have to put in the lesson plans on the LMS, and I still have to um, create engaging lessons, or what I want, as try to make it as engaging as possible in the classroom. I still want that, but today was a different day. I was telling you, Meredith, I said I have a story to share today. Well, let me tell you, I feel the same way you feel, although you beat me by far in the sense that you are like, girl, you're organized for like units ahead. Used
Well,
to.
kind of. Not anymore. But yeah, no, absolutely. You'd think things wouldn't change. You'd think there'd be no shift to talk about. But apparently, right, it's like nothing changes and yet everything changes, right?
Yes. So I remember that you shared, okay, like I have my lessons, my units, packets already ready to go. And I would be saying, oh my God, how does Meredith do it? I'm on a week by week basis. That, like, I mean, I know my topics, but I don't have my ducks in a row. And I change everything.
Mm.
I change the stories. I change everything because I get so like easily bored, especially if
Mhm.
I'm teaching the same class in the day. So anyway, like the shift we bring upon ourselves, right? So
Mhm. It's
but
it's a shit storm.
yes, yes. So for that reason, I'm usually just like a week ahead. I know where I want to go with my unit. Like I have my sketch of my unit, but I'm like a week ahead. And
Mhm.
it's funny because now you have the responsible kids who will be like, Profe Delgadillo, I'm not gonna be here in next week. Can you tell me why I'm gonna be missed?
No. Right. I'm not going to be here 3 Sundays from Wednesday, and I want to know what's on the quiz. Girl, I haven't made the quiz. What you mean, what's on the quiz?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Like, no,
Exactly.
don't know.
And let's talk about this, and let's just keep it real like we always do. But before we move forward, let me read Christina's. She said, definitely guilty
Mhm.
of comparing myself to others and wondering how they're supposed to be thriving on distance learning. And I'm working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and now we're back in person. How are people living 5 minutes after the kids live? And I'm still with with the custodians.
Same.
I have a thing now that I live at 4 p.m. and that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Right.
I'm not bringing any work home. And that is huge for me because I
Mhm.
used to bring all the work home. And
Absolutely.
but
Oops.
now it's like 4 o'clock. So let me tell you what happened. Yesterday I left at 4 o'clock and I did
Uh-oh.
not finish something small. I already had my plan. I already had my do nows because we have to do nows.
Right.
And I was like,
And we do them
man,
now.
I was like, man, I've not finished doing my slides. And to keep, normally we're not working on the computer, but some days we are. And yesterday I was proofing some of their presentation or writing that they were doing.
Mm.
And I was proofing it because I wanted it to be well written because I was going to use their presentation or writing to
Mm.
create an activity.
Cute.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's why I was proofing it. Otherwise, it would have just like gone the way they had.
Right. Otherwise, it's me amo s. I mean, you know what I mean? Where you're like, we need to
Yeah.
clean this.
Yes.
Okay.
So I had to do that today. They were typing it. They were typing it on Google. They had already written it the day before. And the thing is, though, that I'm making them write it, and then also they had to create a collage because the visual collage on the slide, they're gonna use on Friday on Flipgrid to talk about it.
Cute.
But yeah. So the thing about it though is that and I'm sure every teacher that's here knows that when you have a collaborative document, you want to make sure you put their names so that they stay on their lane. Because otherwise, shift is about to blow.
Shift gets real. Right.
Yes. So I did not do the
You
slides
gotta,
where I
you
put
gotta
the
deal with
name.
the bullshift.
I did not do the slides and I didn't put their names, and that's usually what I do. I just put everybody's name in alphabetical order and I say, go find your slide and stay on your space. And that
Yep.
worked beautifully. So what I what I did is just I did not have that slide ready. And it was gonna take me about a good 5 to 10 minutes to put it together. It was gonna be blank. They were gonna do all the work in there. So I did not have it and I left at 4. Well, this morning, first period, of course, my do now is ready to go. The first part of my class was amazing. Like, okay, here's the do now. Let's go over the answers. Here's the agenda. This is the plan for today, guys. As soon as I turn that off, I go to my computer and I tell my students, I'm so sorry. The presentation's not ready. Take a 5-minute phone break. Okay, because it's my fault. Go find
Right. My bad.
take a 5-minute phone break and I'm going to get this to you. I don't know at what point after I said that, my assistant principal walks in to do an observation.
Shut up.
Yes.
Get out, get out, get out. Like,
Right? Talk about perfect timing.
if not today. The one time.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, so that's exactly what happened. She comes in there, and luckily for me, my students did not go straight to their phones. They pulled out their laptops and they were logging in. Yes.
Extra
then,
credit for all
and the
of
thing is that I didn't even know she was there at the beginning.
I had an administrator that would walk in like a ninja and shift would get real. Like he would walk in and I had a kid that sat by the door, Tyler, he's like 27 now. And Tyler would go, I had him on cue. I was like, say something that sounds like school when she walks in. Cause we both know that she's quiet and she wears all dark clothing and I don't see her and like the lights are off and the projector, she'd be in the back of the room, like typing notes. And I was like, like, what are you doing here? How long have you been here? And he would say like, do the standards say? And I was like, you're saying weird stuff about standards, so she must be here. They would save me.
We can't like. I want to ask the teachers. I want to ask the teachers who are listening. How many of you have had that talk with your students where you're like, you make me look bad? Guess who holds the power?
Make your life miserable. You make me look bad? I got you. Okay? Like, you just wait.
Yeah, you make me look good. Oh my God. Like, wonderful things are going to happen.
That's it. My 3 classroom rules, I got 3. They're don't lie to me, don't waste my time, don't make me look bad. And that's it. Like, those are the 3. Everything falls under those. And I'm like, you make me look good, I make you look good. Like, we're all good.
Yeah. And absolutely. So she came in. I had no idea she was there because I ran. Okay. Another thing, the way my computer is positioned in my room is terrible. Like I have complained about it for the longest, but it's just stationary there. They can't move it anywhere else because cabling and all of that. So, and I mentioned that to my admins, but anyway, so I went to my computer. I was like quickly typing in the names. And I'm pretty sure I haven't read her observation because she hadn't submitted to me before the end of the school day today. But I'm pretty sure she's going to say something to the effect like, "You could have done this at home, like, or not at home. You could have had this ready." She probably will have said, "You could have had this ready before class."
But I was trying to leave it 4 because I'm trying to maintain my sanity. So. And you could have done this observation any other day, lady.
Oh, wait. Okay. So I was telling my colleague down the hall, who is amazing. We got to have those colleagues down the hall or close by. And I told him, I said, I had an observation. And no, she did not come when I was using virtual reality in the classroom and my students were using the target language the whole period. She did not come then. She did not come when I presented my 5 stations and I had all my ducks in a row and it was wonderful. So she came today, like the one
Right.
day.
I had my shift together every other day, but until then, I had an administrator, the best administrator I've ever had, one of the best, said one time, he's like, honestly, I think this evaluation should be, do you still work here? Great. Like that's it, right? So I was telling him that for so long I had put pressure on myself to be, and again, as an Enneagram 3, as an achiever, we want to like help everybody and be all the things all the time and, whatever. I was like, I want to be like ready when you're here and whatever. And it's going to like kill me if I'm not. Like, I'm going to go over that moment in my mind and, and then that's when they show up, is when you're not, ready. And I've really had to like, talk that shift out in my head and be like, you know what, let it go. Like if you didn't need to be here, you wouldn't still be here.
Thank you. Yes. Well, I told my colleague, my neighbor colleague, I said to him, you know what? I don't care. I know that I've been doing my best. My kids love my class,
Yep.
and on most days I am on my A game. Today just didn't happen to happen, and that's okay. And
Mhm.
I don't think I'm gonna get a bad um uh review on my tickets. I don't think so. But it's okay. It's okay, because this is another thing. We talked about our goals for this year, Meredith, what goals we have this year for this semester. And one of my goals is to stop apologizing so much for things that I need as a person, as an
Yeah.
individual. And I have shared with you, and I've been very open, like in my blog and also in Instagram. I have shared about my journey with anxiety, and it's been awful, but it also has helped me understand myself better. It's helped me do much better at setting boundaries for myself. And I'm just learning a lot from it. And some days it's really bad, but we're moving forward, and it has shown me how to be more empathetic towards my students, and
Mhm.
also towards because when my students used to suffer from anxiety, like I will be like, okay, I know what it means. I really did not know what it means. You don't really know what it means until you are actually in those shoes. And I used to be one of those people like that say, okay, we're strong in the mind and we can do hard things. And I still believe we can do hard things. But
Mm,
but now it's like I have an internal clock, and I don't know when I could be like plan. And I love
mm,
planning, for life and for my daily and for school.
mhm.
Like planning is important. But at the same time, it's like I have only so much battery, and then when anxiety kicks in, it's over. You know,
Right. Done.
shift hits the fan. Puerto Delgadillo is no longer available. Like, I am
Right.
sorry. And then,
Uh-huh. Berta is out of the building. Goodbye. She has left the building. Goodbye.
yes.
Absolutely.
So,
Hmm.
so that was one of my goals. And the funny thing is that the people who I'm most transparent with is my husband, of course, because he
Mm.
has to deal with that on a daily basis. And then also my
Yes,
students, because they also
shift.
exactly, he has to deal with all my shifting.
Shift.
So and also I have to deal with my students on a daily basis. They have to deal with me as a person, and I've talked to them about it at the beginning of the year. And I was telling Annabelle, because I was doing a live yesterday on Instagram with Annabelle Williamson, la maestra loca, and I was telling her how my students, sometimes it happens to me when I get really bad anxiety for no reason, because anxiety comes for no reason. I used to think that it was only like there were certain triggers. It's
Mm.
not necessarily that way. So sometimes if I have it, I had it last time really bad, third period, and I started stuttering, because when I get it really bad, I stutter a lot.
Oh.
And also something else that happened is that it's like my brain lags. It lags.
Mm.
So I was calling. We were doing to do now, and I know these kids, like I know their names, and I can go their names very quickly. I was forgetting their names. Like it would
Oh.
take me 5 seconds for each kid for
Wow.
their name to come. So it's
Mm.
pretty scary sometimes what anxiety can do to your body and whatnot. Um, and I told my kids, I am so sorry. I promise you, I love you, and I know your names. But right now, I'm having an anxiety. I'm okay. I don't want you to be scared. But I talk to you about this, and sometimes I get it. And right now, that's what's happening. But it's okay. We're getting ready to roll. And they were just like, they looked at me with like so much like compassion.
Mm.
And then I just kept it rolling. But I mean, it's something so little, but can you imagine? I mean, how would you feel like if you are like, okay, Berta, I know your name, but it's not coming to me in like within 5 seconds. And
Right.
yeah,
Right. Well, and like you said, so many times until we've experienced a thing, we're not empathetic to students, or like you and I are the same age. So as we get farther and farther apart from students, and we get to be, older and older and older, it's like it's really easy to just be like, well, suck it up, Jimmy. Like, oh, you feel anxious. Oh, you feel like you're nervous. Well, get it together, because we all have to in the real world. And it's really easy to be, I think, on our high horse as teachers and forget what it's like when it's something even as simple as going like, Berta, you're calling on a student in class, like, go ahead and stand up, give us your answer. And to know how anxiety inducing even just stuff like that is, like how uncomfortable, just discomfort in general, until you've, like you said, been in front of a group of 30 plus kids and you're like, oh my God, I know your name. Like, why can't I'm like, give
spit it
me a
out,
minute.
spit
I
it
need
out.
a minute. Right. Spit it out. Like, no, like, oh my God, it's Johnny. Just say Johnny. Yeah. Like having that kind of vulnerability. I think our job is so much more vulnerable than people give us credit for. And I think that's part of the part that makes it emotional. That's why I feel like I was saying about those students from last year, I feel a little bit salty about like not really seeing them. The ones that were Zoomies, I don't really know what they look like, and that's fine. But like the roomies who just maybe walk past my room, or I see them from a distance and they don't say hi, or students from, spring of 2020, where I'm like, we got through some hard stuff together.
Yep.
And I really counted on, you all to whatever. And when they just pass by or they don't say hi, that for me, I know how vulnerable I felt last year, and I know how vulnerable I felt in spring 2020, and how, I was trying to keep it together and, whatever with the kids. But so when they don't say hi and it doesn't feel like a shared mutual thing, when they're not compassionate, like you said, your students are, like looking at you like, no, it's okay, senora, like you're doing great, whatever, that kind of thing. I think that's what kind of hurts my feelings a little bit, is it makes me feel a little bit like not seen. And
Yeah.
it makes me feel like they haven't considered how hard that might be for a teacher. But like you just said, I think that's the part, is, have we considered how hard things are for them?
Yes. Yes. Totally. Because I had a student who was on her phone, and I was just like, why? And then later on that day, actually, I didn't get on her case because I had to keep the class rolling, and I was just like
Yep.
observing her, and I would call her a lot, and she will respond, and then
Hmm.
and then at the end of class, without even me talking to her, I was going to talk to her after everybody left, but she came to me and she said to me that she was stuff was going on at home with her parents, and then also with her siblings, and she had to
Mhm.
actually text her sibling because her sibling was at home, and it was just like a big thing. And I know that she has a lot of responsibilities on her plate, and I
Mm.
can, all me would have just like, get off that phone, but she was not actually texting. She actually showed me her text. She did not have to, but she said, here, I just want to share with you that I have to make sure my sister is logged in at school
Yeah.
and X, Y, and Z. And yeah, she just carries a lot, and sometimes we don't think about that. We're like, oh, you're just how disrespectful. And yes, I mean, we don't want that. And I did have the follow-up conversation with her, and I told her, okay, that's fine, next time just let me know at the beginning, because I probably could have said something stupid to you, and
Yeah,
not
and I wouldn't
know.
want to hurt you. Like,
Exactly. And also and also just be mindful that if you have it out, the next time another person has it out, it's kind of like a domino effect, and it's like, well, she didn't tell her anything and didn't tell me anything, so that kind of stuff. We
yeah.
want to be consistent with all of that, the disciplinary actions that we take. We have to be mindful of that. But something else that we kind of talked about just now, Meredith, is that we went through a lot, and just because things are okayish right now and things seem to be quote unquote, very quote unquote, going back to normal,
Right.
um, does not mean there is not going to be any situations, because I know that, again, for me, my anxiety is here to stay until God knows when. um,
Mm.
that's just it. I don't know when I'm going to like start stuttering. I don't know when I'm going to start like literally losing it. Uh,
Mhm,
so, uh, and
mhm.
just like learning how to deal with it. Uh, and I believe we're all change people from that
Yeah.
experience.
Mm,
And it's so important to acknowledge that. And like I mentioned, one of my goals is just to stop apologizing for what my body and my mind needs. So
yeah.
I'm not going to apologize for not having my ducks in a row to my assistant principal. Like if she
Mm,
says something, I'm not going to apologize for that. Because what I needed to do was leave at 4 o'clock. And I know when I was at the building, I worked to the best of my ability. And
mm,
that's that. And
absolutely.
then just certain things I'm not gonna apologize for, because I need what I need. And that's, and I my our health comes first, mental,
Mhm,
physical, and everything else. So that's important
absolutely.
to remember.
Well, when you look at a profession of what is it, 81, 82%, females. And so, a lot of us have the tendency just societally, the various pressures, the various systemic, inadequacies and injustices where, we just fix things. We fix things and and we do more with less and we do, all those kind of things. So that's so inherent in teaching of, well, you'll figure it out. Well, you'll figure it out. And meanwhile, we've got buses that do double routes every day because we don't have enough drivers. We're down 4 custodians. We're down, I mean, we are short, we're down subs. We are short on every possible level of personnel, like nationwide.
Bus
And
drivers.
like, that's what I said, bus drivers, custodians, substitutes. I'm like, help. And then we've got on top of that, kids looking at TikTok and stealing the soap dispenser, bringing tools to school to take off. They're clogging toilets. I'm thinking just today, they're smashing mirrors. They're taking soap off. They're doing all the things. And we don't have endless supplies and we don't have endless people. And at some point, it's just, we're going to hit our breaking point and it's going to be like, goodbye. Like, we can't do this anymore. So I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do, to do more with less and to be this and to be this and to be this. And like you said, to have it all ready. And you know what? Some days it just doesn't happen. We
No.
just do it when we get home. Or if that makes you feel less anxious, you do it when you get home or you do it before you leave school. Whatever it is that makes you feel better about it, that's when you do it. And that's going to look differently for everybody. But it's like you said, it's stopping apologizing and it's stopping going, for me, it's not going over it in my mind repeatedly and being like, God, what must she have thought? They probably came in, they probably think I'm a terrible teacher. Oh my God, am I going to stop? Because they're not thinking that hard about it. Why am I?
Hmm. Yeah. And like you mentioned, just stopping ourselves too. So stop apologizing, but also our own talk or beating ourselves up over it,
Mm,
and just acknowledging that it's not gonna be perfect all the time, and it's okay. It's not supposed to. It's
yeah.
not supposed to be perfect all the time. So we have some comments. It seems observations are coming for people. Sorry, we mentioned them. Maribel is saying, I have my
Trigger
first observation
warning.
this week, and I heard she just walks in at random. I am petrified. I
Mm,
think I would say that after the first time she walks in, you'll get used to it, and you'll get
mm,
used to just being random. So,
yeah.
uh, yeah, it's. I mean, it's hard to say. Okay, you will get used to it. I thought, because it is nerve wracking. I remember the first couple of weeks when they were talking about they were gonna come look for this and look for that, and I was like, oh my god, like. And now it's just like, okay, you know what, it does not matter if I'm doing stellar when you come in, great. If I'm not, that's okay, that's real teaching. If I'm not on the lesson I wrote on my learning management system and you come in like today, also that's another thing, it was the same unit but it was not correlating with the activities I had there. That's, I'm being flexible,
Whatever.
I'm teaching. So
I'm
so that's
differentiating, darn it. I'm
on
differentiating.
the spot, on the fly.
Amazing.
Yes, and we have thank you, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Um, and then we Mirna saying, who can give you a bad evaluation of thank
Mirna.
you. Yes. No, but it happens. It can happen. Well, this is what I'm going to say though. I personally, when you get a bad rating, I'm not going to let that bring me down, first of all.
Right.
Rating that she was only there for 10 minutes.
Mm.
Does not define the rest of my class. And my students knew exactly what they were doing, and they were all on task doing what they needed to do. Even though it might not have looked like that at the beginning, but that's what was happening. And remember that whenever you get those ratings, they don't define you. Just like we tell our students that standardized tests don't define them. They don't
Right.
define. And then the other thing is that you can always advocate for yourself. We always tell students, you have to advocate, you have to speak up if you need help, you have to speak up if something, whatever. Well, same for me. Like, I advocate for myself, and I never gotten anything. Let me knock on wood. I never gotten anything bad. But at the same time, like, if that were my case, I have had some comments, not the number. We in Georgia, we get a 3 and a 4. 3 and a 4 is good. And
Mhm.
then, 2s is like needs development or something like that, or needs, what is it
Exactly.
called? Yeah,
Improvement.
improvement. Yes. So normally I get 3s and 4s. However, sometimes there are some comments in there that I'm like, well, I do that in my classroom, so I
Mhm.
am going to make it a point to mention it to my admins. Like, okay, you told me that this, and no, maybe not consistently, because that's the key word, consistently.
Right.
So, but I do it. Like, it's not like I don't know how to do it. Like, do I know, Meredith, that it would have been better for me to have that slide ready before time? Absolutely. Absolutely. It would have been so much better. But I just could not make it happen. And it is what it is.
Right. Sorry, not sorry.
Yes. And Maribel is saying again, I think COVID and teaching for a year plus online made us all more compassionate and vulnerable with our kids. Definitely. It took, for me, like, it transformed the way I build relationships even more with my learners. I feel more, definitely, that's the word, Maribel, more vulnerable. I can be more vulnerable with them, and I
Yeah.
think they feel they can be more vulnerable with me as well. um,
Yeah.
and then we have, this job is only a part of your life,
Mm.
and they are getting the best version of us. They're so lucky to have us. That is true. That's what Roman is saying. That's Roman right there.
Oh, Roman. Right. Well, but it's true though. You think about, like, I think Christina had mentioned higher up, where she was saying, like, why am I still here with the custodians? My shift has ended, kind of thing. Like, I'm not supposed to still be here. And it's that thing where you realize you have really high standards for yourself. And that can also get in the way of being good enough. Sometimes good enough is good enough. And sometimes average is good enough. To me, sometimes great is the enemy of good. Because once you start saying, oh, I like this lesson, I like how we do this unit, but I bet I could make this great. But now the I bet I could is like Saturday night on the computer, Friday night on the computer. You know what? No, that's here for some other time where I can go, I need to find a cute, authentic resource to introduce us with. That's a great idea. Love that. Back burner. Like, that is just not a present me problem. That's a future me idea that's going to be great at some point. But right now, that's just not what I'm doing, because if I do that with everything, now you're down the rabbit hole of, like, I could make everything great, and then we'll be working forever. And then I'm resenting people. I'm resenting, everyone around me. I'm resenting students. Like, do you know how long this took me? Whatever. And they don't care, because it's not for them to care. They don't care. They want to learn. They don't want their time wasted, and neither do we. So, like, stop. That's all they
Absolutely.
want.
Like today, like a perfect example, with today's lesson that I keep bringing it up. My PowerPoint was literally blank.
Yeah.
We just had their names on 3 pages. So I put, if I had chance page 1, chance page 2, chance collage page. And
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Go find your name and you put the work in. Like,
Right.
all I did is I organized it during class. But I've done it before class. But it was organized. Here it is. And there are no pretty, I gave the instructions. The instructions were on a slide. I did not have a handout for them. They knew
Yeah.
what they were gonna do anyway.
Done. Right. And you have high standards for yourself. So when the one little thing goes wrong, it's like, that's it. That was a failure. That is all. And I think what I have to remind myself sometimes is Not everyone thinks that way. And you know what I mean? Like I have to go like, stop. Like I'm not behind. I'm just behind for me.
Right.
Or if there's something you can't attend to, there's something you can't get to, and you're like, you know what? I'll get to that email when I get to it, if I get to it. Or I'll get to whatever if I get to like I think if is okay. And like you said, I think not apologizing, being like, I'm sorry if it like upset you, but I'm not able to do X at this time, or I'm not able to do, but we have high standards for ourselves. And I think as teachers, a lot of us naturally do. And so when we don't feel like it plays out like we wanted it to play out, we're also planners. We like to control, and we're like, oh, this is going to be so great. Like I can do whatever. And then when it doesn't, we got to let that shift go, because otherwise you'll be fretting over everything, and you'll be worrying about everything and like judging yourself harder than anyone judges you. So why?
Totally. I am going to say, glad that Roman is watching. Roman is actually, he was my student teacher mentor, and
Yeah.
he's yours. No, you work with Roman, right?
Yeah, he was my very first department chair. He hired me.
So Roman is
He
amazing.
didn't. He was there.
Roman is amazing, and I remember Roman telling me at the beginning. He always kept it real from the get go. Like,
Yep.
and he told me you only have to be a couple days ahead of them. You don't have to be weeks ahead of them, and
Okay.
it's okay if you're only a couple days ahead of them. And even if it's just like one day ahead of them, but that's
Just be a little bit ahead.
exactly. And because sometimes we see people sharing, oh, like it's my entire year is planned, and we have this idea that our entire year has to be planned, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you got it in you, if that's what brings you a lot of joy, go for it.
Yep.
But at the same time, again, I like to keep my lessons like what's happening and my
Yeah.
school, and what they want to talk about, like my students want to
Mhm.
talk about. So for me, it's very hard to like say I'm gonna do the same units every year, because I will repeat some of them, but not all of them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and if your preps have changed, if you've always taught level whatever, and now you're teaching level whatever, and you're comparing yourself with somebody who's had the same levels for 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 years, like, well, no wonder that's super not fair to you to be like, oh my God, Berta already has, I'm thinking of something just really inane, like copies made, whatever. Cause I know I've tweeted out pictures of copies where I'm like, woohoo, all of unit 1 is copied. Okay, doesn't mean it's good. It just means something exists on paper. Okay. But it's like that same thing where you're like, no, if you just change levels or change, Amy Marshall and I were talking the other day, she just changed schools. So she's getting her shift together at another school, and she's changed levels. So she was middle school for a long time, and she's back now at high school. And she's like, I gotta like show these kids who I am. I gotta like learn my colleagues. I gotta learn my department chair. That's normal shift, right? Like that's just the shift that happens. And so it's not fair to you to compare yourself to somebody whose situation, again, like DNA, it's a fingerprint. It's completely unique. They might be in a point where my friend Angela and I have talked about this. She like new baby, new prep, new whatever, all of these things. Well, now her son's a freshman in college, and she's like, sweet, I can take on more professional responsibilities. He's gone to school. Our lives change so dramatically that it's not fair to ourselves to go, oh, I should do this because such and such does that. Totally different commute, different colleagues, different preps, different schedule,
From
different
family.
experience, different family. And then right, like it's mentioned in the comments, like, and then if you have to turn in lesson plans like a week ahead, well, here's what I think we're gonna do. Haha, whatever. Like allegedly, here's what we're doing.
Disclaimer, yes, disclaimer, definitely.
Yeah.
I have my lesson plan, and it happens eventually. It all happens. I put it in there. I don't know what the expectation is for you, but the expectation for us is that it needs to be turned in, and it needs to be aligned to the standards. I make sure that I have my strategies listed, because particularly for me, my admins want to see names of strategies. So I have to put collaborative, carousel, interpretive rating, and like just things like that. And so I have to put that in there, and then from there I just make sure my standards are there. And like I said, my admin came in there today, and I was not exactly doing what was on that day, but I was doing something that was listed in that lesson for that week.
By golly.
Yes, yes. So I'm not gonna like, definitely we're not telling you lie or whatever, but like have your skeleton of and make sure you're aligning it to the standards. And
Yeah.
it happens because you may not, like, I over plan usually. So it's like
Same.
I have to, I said, okay, I want to finish a unit in 2 weeks or in a week, and then it doesn't happen, they need more practice, or I found this
Mhm.
activity that I want to do that's going to help them, and then we are not behind, but we're just like, it's not going to finish on a
Mhm.
Friday, you know it's not going to finish on
Yeah.
a Friday, it's going to have to finish on a Tuesday, even though I like my units to be done on Fridays for.
Same. I'm a Friday finisher. Like, we're done. Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
but exactly, like that's the thing, right? Like we all, again, we all have such different situations. So, if you and I are like, hey, I'm teaching level 1 this year. Oh, you too? Cool. Oh, I'm a finish on Friday. Cool. Let's plan together. Or like, let's share things. And even if we're at 2 different places, your colleagues may be totally different. My colleagues may be totally different. You might have to post lesson plans. Like all of the pressures are so different. Like Marty Bell mentioned in the chat, like, no, I'm so glad I don't have to post lesson plans. We kind of do, but they don't have to be that detailed. And so it's like, I am so supported at my school that I'm just like when I hear the horror stories, I remember what that felt like. And
Been
I'm
there, been there.
not been there, right? Where I'm like, been there, got the t-shirt. No thanks. Like I'm good. I am so supported at my school that I know if I'm selling it, they're buying it. Like that's it. And my department chair is great. Like my colleagues are incredible. I just like I've got it made in the shade. So it's super not fair, to compare yourself when it's like if you might have something happening behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, or again, it's like a new prep, or like you said, family situation, or dealing with something like you talked about the anxiety or different medical, whatever. It's like that changes the whole thing, right away.
Yes. And we also have another comment when we're talking about advocating for ourselves with evaluations.
Mm.
And Andrea is saying, always advocate with admin when I was told your students don't reflect enough. I did send out screenshots of my kiddos reflecting. I always document, I take screenshots of students' work. And it's
Yeah.
funny because that's a great, that's amazing, because I do the same in the sense that my principal follows my Instagram, my Profesora Delgadillo Instagram, and I share a ton in there. So he sees what's happening in there. And then when I'm gonna have a great lesson, and even when I'm not, but when I like I'm gonna do something different, I send him a message and I say, stop by today. Like I just want, like,
Yes.
because you may walk in on a day where I don't have my shift together, like today, but
Right.
most of the time I am like definitely
Right.
doing the best that I
I
can.
do. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think it's important. Feel free to invite your admins on a day that you feel you're
Mhm.
just gonna rock it. You already know, like they're gonna love it. And sometimes it doesn't go that way, and that's okay. But at least you tried. You tried
Yeah.
something new and everything. Invite your admins to watch you. I invite him, her
Same.
too. I invite them when I'm doing something different, and in that
Same.
way, they can see. And it's not like bragging or anything. It's just like, no, come check out, I
Yeah.
learned about this. And yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and if you want to, we forget that. And I say this because a friend of mine is now an administrator. Not that we forget that they're people too, but we forget, I started teaching literally 3 days with Roman 3 days after college. And so I graduated college on 2 days, sorry. I graduated college on a Saturday and got in a classroom finishing the year for somebody else on a Monday. And I don't recommend that for anybody involved. But I had just turned 22, like super, super young. And so administration, admin, and I come from a family of teachers. This was not like an inaccessible kind of scary place. But so that's probably an aspect of privilege as well, as being like, I find administrators very accessible and da-da-da. But there was still a little bit of like, like they were like a little bit scary. And now having several friends who are a few years experience as administrators, I'm like, oh my God, you don't know what you're doing either. Because they're like, I don't know. And so I think that's really powerful when we say things like, hey, if you want to see something fun, if you want to come play some cards with us, we're going to be playing spoons, third period. I mean, it's in Spanish, obviously, but like, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be playing some games today. We're going to be gambling, we're playing Las Vegas or whatever, which is a game I got from my colleague. Like, we're going to be doing all sorts of things. Sometimes we forget it's a welcome break for them. And they might be like, you know what? Yeah, I can take my laptop and like come and just answer a few emails, but enjoy the environment of your classroom and just be somewhere inaccessible. I think classrooms a lot of times are kind of like an island. If they can't be found, they figure out somebody else to go to. And I think that's kind of a welcome break for admin sometimes.
Yes, I totally agree. I had my admin came in because I invited him last Friday because I was doing stations, and one of my station was we had done a song and they had to do a TikTok of that song in groups.
Amazing.
So I had my room, my office. Well, I have a little office that you can close the door, but you can still see what's happening inside.
Right.
And that was the TikTok recording room. It was like a sound room. So
super cute.
Yeah, so I had the instructions in there, and I told him to go to TikTok and search the hashtag with the song. And it's funny because he came and he observed me doing some. I was doing like small group teaching for like 5 minutes, and then I was like walking around. Like everything was great. And then it's funny because he was like observing what was happening in each station, and then he went. There are windows everywhere, and he bombed my students' TikTok, and he actually did the dance behind them. Like my principal is incredible, and it was hilarious. He even posted on on the school's Instagram page. So
that's so fun. Shut up.
Yes. Yes.
Love that. And they like that too. So many times we're like, oh, I don't know. I always joke, like, act natural, everybody. Like, don't be, whatever.
Yeah.
But we forget that a lot of them miss the classroom and a lot of them miss connecting with kids. And I'm sorry, but if my job, like I think a couple of my administrators who are great, like if my job is dealing with attendance and discipline all day, like I got into teaching for the kids. If I got into it for the right reason, right? Love my content, love the kids. If I got into it for the right reasons and now I'm an administrator, whatever, great, love that. Like use your, capacity elsewhere. And I deal with the worst parts of school all day. I am happy to get in classrooms and to like bomb a TikTok and to not deal with the hard stuff that they deal with.
Yes, absolutely. Even Maribel, she used to work with me. She left me
right
2 years ago.
I know.
I'm still working on getting her back.
So, North Carolina, what do they have on us? Whatever.
Exactly. So yes, we do have an awesome principal. He is awesome, and like he's known to come into my class, and the kids want him to dance. Well, he'll dance with us. I mean, it's just there's so many stories that we have with him. So and that really really helps, and that's like social emotional too for students. It just brightens our days as a teacher too. You don't feel like because sometimes for me my stations were pretty organized, but I would say organized chaos in a way. So and that's okay to have too. So
absolutely.
Alma is saying my husband's life story as an admin says if he could get admin paid but teach, dream job.
Right? I mean, that's the thing. We forget like a lot of them, they miss kids. And when I reflect on last year and how, I mean, again, I'm going to be super vulnerable. Like, and I'm always, we're always honest, and you and I always talk really frankly. Like, I felt so vulnerable last year and I felt so irrelevant. And I just was like, oh no. Because again, I knew all their lingo. When I started teaching, smartphones weren't a thing yet. Like that was not a distraction. Like you could connect with the kids. You had sort of like old fashioned problems. And now some of the stuff just escalates so quickly that it's like, oh wait, that's serious. And it's just, a lot of them miss kids and they miss connecting, and that's what you miss because it's easy to get jaded in this job and go like, you know what, screw it. They're all on their phones. They're all like, the kids don't care. After last year, they don't know anything. And none of that's true. None of that's true. I would say the opposite too. Like after last year, Kids, what a honeymoon period we've had. My kids are amazing. And like so many of them every day are like, ting, because they're so like glad to be back in school.
Yes, yes, I felt the same way too. I was actually telling my colleague across the hall, like in third week, I'm like, I'm waiting for the honeymoon phase to be over. It doesn't
Like,
feel like it's been over. Like it doesn't. Like the kids genuinely want to be back. They miss it
yeah.
so much, and yes, I mean, it's just it's been
Right. I'm
wonderful.
giving like direct instruction. They're quiet. I'm like, what is this? This is so, there's 39 of you in here. This is so weird. How can I hear like a pin drop? Like, and it's amazing, but normally you have to work a little bit harder for that. And I didn't work nearly as hard as I usually do, but I think after a year of computer school,
Mhm.
they are just like, they're done. And they know that it like didn't go great for all of them. So I think they're like, whatever we can explain or give a paper copy of or whatever, they are like super ready. But I think administrators too. Can you imagine last year
Oh my
having
God,
like,
no. I've told this to my admins too. I said, I don't know how you can do it because, see, for me, it's like what got me to experience what I was experiencing with anxiety. It had to do with a lot of the paperwork that I had to do, the extras, the whole extras of like communicate here, communicate there, submit this here, submit this there, and all this other extra of everything. And it's
yeah.
just so I can't imagine what it's like for them having to deal with us because we are complainers too. Let's just face it.
Well, and teaching is, I always say like, and your husband Army as well. And so I've always said when our husbands and like teachers get together and soldiers get together, and my husband, same thing. I don't understand, like they're talking about stuff and I don't get it, but they like to complain about the same things, but they also love the same things. I think teachers do the same things. We're on, and we use war metaphors for teaching. We say veteran teacher, in the trenches, front lines. We do all these weird things that are like these bonding things. I think one of them is complaining. We bond over complaining sometimes.
Yes, yes. So I literally told my admin, I don't know how you do it. You have to deal with my complaints, our complaints, the parents' complaints, because, I mean, even though we were on an unprecedented situation from the beginning, it was just like we had still had parents complain. Like about several things, and I just like, how do you keep your face and keep yourself together so well? Like that's something I admire about my admins, that they just, that's why I personally could not be an admin because I would lose my shift right off the bat. Like
I was gonna say I'd lose my shift immediately. Like, what happened? Shift got real. Like she lost it. Yeah, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
yes. So yeah, the pay is a little bit nicer, but no gracias.
Right. No vale la pena. Thank you. Like, no. I know. I try to frequently express my gratitude. So I think that's the thing, right? Like you look at really healthy, sort of balanced, whatever, or the myth of balance. Cause I think balance is I think it's kind of bullshit. Honestly, because I think it's just, I told you we're going to do them all. I think it's naturally, kind of like a teeter totter. Like I don't like a teeter totter. If a teeter totter is working, doesn't really just stay here, like it goes here. So I think I think gratitude is a big piece of that in trying to stay kind of centered and all of those things, and like deep breath and like, okay, I'm not, and feeling less anxious kind of about all the things in a obviously like a big way, not anxiety, kind of capital A anxiety, but I try to express that gratitude to my administrators as often as possible. I'm like, thank you, like for all you do. I can't really do anything for you, but like, here, I brought you a water, like I don't know what I can do, and it feels like never enough, but yeah, I don't want any part of that.
Yes, yes.
I don't want to be department chair. I don't want any part of that.
No, thank you. Well, yeah, by default, Maribel left me with that duty, but
Right. Maribel, unbelievable. Dang it, he strikes again.
Roman is telling us to, yes, invite your principal and AP
Amen.
to all your activities. He said, I just took my AP to St. Augustine. We most promote our department. Perfect.
Wait a minute. We were not told that he was going to St. Augustine.
I
Hello,
know. Wouldn't that
Roma.
happen?
I was free. I don't know what day it was, but I was free. Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's almost, and I feel like it feels manipulative, but it's really not. But it really is like playing, like being on offense before they can get on defense. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit of like, boop, like just let's play that. It's advocating for yourself and being like, no, like I got my shift together. Okay. Like, and I know what I'm doing, even if I don't fake it, like fake, even if you don't know what you're doing, fake it and look like you do. Um, like that's, there's something to be said for, yeah, come on in. Cause they're not thinking of anything. They're probably more uncomfortable when we're like, oh no, and all nervous. We don't need to be.
Absolutely, totally. And Meredith, just like some in closing this conversation, what is the one thing that you are gonna keep in mind moving forward? I know we talked a lot about it. I said I wasn't gonna apologize, but definitely beyond that, like what else are we going to keep in mind moving forward as things are shifting?
Listen, there are big shifts and there are little shifts. And you just got to give a shift. Okay. No, I think for me, this is going to seem probably very not Enneagram 3 and kind of counterintuitive, but I know, right? Like, ooh, but I think my big goal this year has been not, this is going to sound not like I want it to sound, but not to have any goals. My goal this year has been not to try anything new is what it comes down to. And I'm just, there's a reason you go see Springsteen, in concert, or my favorite, Mana, in concert. Okay, yeah, new album, love that.
Maribel and I are going to be going to see Sebastian Yatra, Enrique Iglesias, and Ricky Martin in Atlanta.
That's it. I'm done. Goodbye. I'm done. Okay, first of all, text me.
Yes.
Second of all, what? Okay, text me the details. Because yeah, I mean Enrique from Uvia Kai and on, we've been dating since 1997. He doesn't know it, but it's pretty serious. So, it started with Uvia Kai, which is like the cheesiest song. But anyway, no, my goal really is like Uvia Kai. Somebody tweeted the other day and I was like, they're like, hey, any good songs, like new songs for weather, like to introduce different weather structures. And I was like, girl, I'm still using Uvia Kai. And I gotta be okay with that. Like, that's my thing is I'm looking at these two slideshows of 2019, 2020, the last time I did, in person. Then I'm looking at last year's and I'm like, okay, well, these have to meet in the middle somewhere. So I can't try anything new. We're always learning. So that's not what I mean,
Yeah.
but I can't do it. I'm good. Unless it's like a game that I can print out, like something I can add. So I think that's the thing is like, it has to be additive. It can't be substantial. Like it's got to be frosting, but cake, I'm good on cake. I've got the cake. I'm ready. But so if it's extra, if it's on top, great. I love that. But I'm not adding anything new. And I'm trying really not to set any expectations for myself because I'm still absorbing. I really didn't. I think I internalized last year more than I realized. And I did not realize how hard it was day to day. I think I repressed it a little bit. And so now every day, like when those same students, like I said, are walking by or whatever's happening, or I'm just so grateful to be teaching in person, mask, whatever, giving out copies, playing games, like touching their shoulder, like, hey, you doing okay today? Okay, great. And moving on. I then realized how hard last year was, that I didn't let it be hard at the time. And so really my goal right now is just like, no goals. Like we're good. We're just make it through the day, make it through the week, make it through the unit, do the things you like, do the things work, do the things that make you happy. If the kids are bored, I don't care. They're allowed to be bored. I am not going to put the pressure on myself to make everything sexy and fun and, whatever. Nope. It's going to be what it is. And so far I have felt better about that, but it's exhausting.
No, I get it. I totally get it. I also agree with the fact that I'm not going to bring anything new unless it's unless you know how you see something, you're like, oh, I really want to try that. If I'm get that like that excited, yes, I'll do it because I'll
Mhm.
be pumped for it. But if I'm
Yep.
not, it's okay. Like I don't have a plan to do it, but like let's say I go to I happen to be listening to a session by Meredith White, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta try this game,
Mhm.
girl. Like you got everything ready for me, so let me do it. But
Right.
other
If
than
it's
that,
easy, rent and go, that's all I want. Like, I'll
yeah.
try that. Mhm.
Yes, but other than that, and it's totally okay. That doesn't make us. I think we go through like different periods. I remember when I first started teaching, my first 2 years, I was like conference mode. Everything was new to me,
Yeah.
and then one year I was like, okay, I'm not going to any conferences at all this year, and
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay. That doesn't make me a bad teacher. Like just I'm okay for now, and then later on I'll be like more excited to do this. Um,
Yep.
but I think you mentioned it, and like you said, it sounds, but it's not. Like it's okay to not have
Mm.
goals. That doesn't mean you're not going to have your daily goals with your students. That's what Meredith's talking about. She's
Right.
talking about herself, and that's what it takes for her. That's what she's doing for herself. Because for a person who is always, because I'm the same way too, like expecting all of this from yourself,
Mm.
you need a break from having such high expectations from
Right.
yourself, and it's like reframing
Relief.
our minds.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just like adding on and building new habits. If we want to build a new habit of maybe not be so demanding of ourselves,
Yeah.
we also need to work on that. So
Yeah.
yes,
Well, and we've made lazy a bad word. We've made lazy a bad word. We've made
boredom.
easy a bad word. We're like, oh, don't take the easy way out. Don't be lazy. We apologize for it. Like you said, sorry, we're having a lazy day. I'm not sorry for anything. Like, no, I'm not going to do that thing. I'm not going to volunteer the time that I don't have, or I don't, like, no, no, no. It's like that Senor Willie song, La Invitación. No, 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 no. It's like so hard to do, but no. No is a complete sentence.
Yes, and it's the best way we can set boundaries, just by exercising. And sometimes at the beginning it's hard to say no if you're not used to it,
Oh,
but eventually you get used to it.
oh.
and,
Right.
and then at the beginning I'm like, okay, what? I'm not gonna apologize. No, I'm not gonna apologize because I have to look at
No.
why I did what I did, and I have to stop myself from apologizing, or and then that's okay. That's what I need, and our health is first, because at the end of it, we are the people who know exactly what we need, and we know how to take care of ourselves the best. Even though our husbands and our families, they love us and they want to take care of us, we are ultimately the person who can take the best care,
Mhm.
and give us the best self care possible. So that's
Mhm.
super important to keep in mind. um, Definitely, I agree with you, and I love that, because I I think that's a great idea, to just walk ahead and say, okay, like my lessons are done or whatever, but um,
Mhm.
here are my strategies I already have on my tool belt. I may add something if something's appealing, but if not, that's cool too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like to the point where I've got, we're in unit 3 right now. Cause like you said, we're like 8 weeks in, 7 weeks in. And I'm just looking back at literally unit 2, day 4, unit 2, day 5. Like I'm copy and pasting the same stuff. I'm like, we'll just change the content. Goodbye. It worked great. That's okay. Like why wasn't I doing that before? I think that's fine. It's like, it just, and you don't owe anybody an explanation. If it's like, oh, Berta, sorry, I can't make it. I have an appointment. You can stop before just, sorry, I can't make it. You don't owe anybody an explanation. It's just, right. Exactly like Christina said. It's just a no, thank you. No, thank you. But thank you.
Yes, yes, definitely. And we just need to exercise that a little bit more, so that we can get better at saying no, thank you, and just everything's gonna be okay. And we're not bad people for claiming our time back, and it's so much needed, because we're still going through a pandemic, and we're
Mhm.
still in it, as normal as some of the things may seem. But definitely giving ourselves grace, and just being there for our students. And that's, show, like you said, like your admin used to say, you're still here after 2 years.
You still work here. Great. Like, that's the only evaluation you need. Exactly.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Meredith. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We hope that you have actually, I'm so glad that you participated in the conversation. Love reading your comments, and we hope you have connected with us and know that you're not alone, and that we are people, and we are not always on a game, and that is okay. That is okay, because we need to start sharing more about. And Meredith has always been great with her highlight reel, but yeah, these conversations need to happen because we are not definitely not alone, and we're all going through many, many of the same things. So thank you so much, Cristina, Andrea, Roman, Maribel, Alma, Mirna. So we'll see you until next time. You guys take care. Thank you so much, Meredith.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Bye.